It was early June 1944, and the Allied forces were deep in preparations for Operation Overlord. From the highest command centers to the bustling shipyards, an unspoken urgency hovered in the background. There was no time to lose. This monumental assault would be the largest amphibious invasion in history and required every available asset and ship to converge on the shores of Normandy. Among these was USS Arkansas, launched in the early days of 1911. At over 30 years old, she stood in stark contrast to the modern battleships designed to take down Axis powers. Even through the war, she had led a relatively quiet existence, primarily as a convoy escort across the Atlantic. With the fate of Europe hanging in the balance, it was time for USS Arkansas, a ship older than many of her crew, to step into the fray. Now, it was her moment to fight and reclaim occupied Europe once and for all. In the spring of 1944, the Allies were preparing for their biggest and most important assault yet. Having already secured victories in North Africa, and with Allied forces pushing through Italy, the tide of World War II was turning. Now, the Allies were focused on opening a new front in Western Europe to hasten the defeat of Nazi Germany. For this, they needed every asset available. One such asset was USS Arkansas, a Wyoming-class battleship and an imposing figure. She measured 582 feet in length and 93 feet in beam, and displaced an impressive 27,243 long tons at full load. 12 oil-fired Babcock and Wilcox boilers powered her 4-shaft Parsons steam turbines, propelling the Arkansas to speeds of up to 20.5 knots at full throttle. In April, Arkansas sailed towards Bangor in Northern Ireland to prepare for her newest role as shore bombardment ship to support Operation Overlord, the Allied invasion of the German-occupied Norman coast. Until then, the ship had merely escorted troops and cargo transport across the Atlantic and performed other non-combat roles. Despite being a battleship, she was one of the oldest ships in the United States Navy, as she was originally launched in 1911. With no time to lose, the days of training in Ireland were marked by relentless drills and unwavering focus to make sure that when the time came, Arkansas would perform her duty with devastating effectiveness. As everyone in Ireland and at other bases near Normandy prepared for the impending operation, General Dwight D. Eisenhower declared it to be a great and noble undertaking. The 1,060 officers and enlisted men aboard USS Arkansas, led by Captain F.G. Richards, were confident in their mission to defeat the Germans and pave the way to Berlin. The gunner's mates even confidently wrote, "You name it, boss, we'll hit it," on one of their turrets. On June 3rd, Arkansas sailed toward the French coast for her biggest challenge yet. Steaming toward Normandy, over 4,000 ships and 3,000 light crafts were heading to the coast in what was about to become the largest seaborne invasion of all time. This would be no easy feat. In his personal diary on the night of June 5th, after having no choice but to push back the operation for a day due to unfavorable weather conditions, British Admiral Sir Bernard H. Ramsay, the Royal Navy's Commander-in-Chief of the Allied Naval Expeditionary Force, wrote, quote, "I'm not under any delusions as to the risks involved in this most difficult of all operations. Success will be in the balance. You must trust in our invisible assets to tip the balance in our favor. You shall require all the help that God can give us, and I cannot believe that this will not be forthcoming." For the D-Day invasion, USS Arkansas was to be a part of Bombardment Group Task Group 124-9, commanded by Rear Admiral Carlton F. Bryant. The ships in this group were gathering some of the most powerful naval forces, all with distinguished service history, spanning numerous operations in the Atlantic, North African, Mediterranean, and Pacific theaters. It included 2 battleships, Arkansas and the New York-class battleship USS Texas, along with several destroyers, support ships, and light cruisers from the U.S. Navy, British, and Free French, all ready to unleash their might on the German defenses. As part of Operation Neptune, the naval component of the Normandy invasion, Arkansas was to be positioned off Omaha Beach. The battleship's mission was to unleash devastation upon German fortifications, including bunkers, artillery emplacements, and machine gun nests that posed a grave danger to the American troops. Her role was to support the brave infantry venturing into occupied territory, providing crucial fire support and creating openings for them to push inland. For this monumental task, she relied on her main battery of 12 12-inch 50-caliber Mark VII guns housed in 6 twin turrets. Though considered outdated by June 1944, these guns were a significant piece of naval artillery from the early 20th century. Designed to balance range and firepower, Each gun could fire a shell weighing approximately 870 pounds, with a charge of about 290 pounds of smokeless powder, achieving ranges up to 20,000 yards. Complementing her firepower were 21 5-inch 51 caliber guns, various anti-aircraft armaments, and two 21-inch torpedo tubes. Despite their age, Arkansas's guns remained a powerful force, and coupled with their highly trained men, they were sure to deliver a menacing presence on the battlefield. The scene was set for an epic confrontation, with the Arkansas and her formidable companions poised to strike a decisive blow in the battle for Normandy. In the earliest hours of June 6, 1944, USS Arkansas, accompanied by other ships of her task force, entered the Baie de la Seine, where the Seine River meets the English Channel, and took up a position only 4,000 yards off Omaha Beach. As the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, the scene was eerily quiet. Omaha Beach, with its high bluffs and heavily fortified defenses, and a beach riddled with dense minefields and strategically placed fortifications that maximized crossfire, covering every inch of the landing area, was about to become one of the Allies' toughest battlegrounds. The enemy forces included 4 150mm guns, one captured Soviet 122mm field gun, and a trio of 20mm anti-aircraft guns, and placed in a nest of resistance on a bluff overlooking the beach. To make matters worse, the rough seas, strong currents, and underwater obstacles further compounded the challenge. Commander Richards and his men were determined to give it their all. At precisely 5:52 a.m., the silence was shattered as USS Arkansas became the oldest American ship in all of World War II to see combat, when the powerful roar of her 12 12-inch guns echoed across the water for the first time in the conflict. At that moment, the stillness of the early morning was replaced by the thunderous sound of naval artillery, as Arkansas salvos were followed by a barrage from the rest of her task force. As the Allied infantry descended upon the beach, all hell broke loose, and the battle for Omaha Beach and D-Day as a whole had begun. As USS Arkansas began her bombardment, firing her 12-inch guns at German positions, intense return fire from the German artillery soon followed. Undeterred, Arkansas firmly held her position. When the British amphibious landing headquarters ship, HMS Bulolo, directed operations at Gold Beach, German guns opened fire, targeting the vessel. British light cruisers Ajax and Argonaut quickly responded, bracketing the German battery with their own salvos. The enraged German gunners ceased fire momentarily to take cover and repair the damage. However, the battle was far from over. The gunners then resolutely started shooting again, redirecting their fire, this time at Americans as they struggled ashore in Omaha. USS Arkansas, along with the Free French cruisers Georges Leguet and Montclair, answered the urgent call for support. They unleashed a devastating cannonade upon the German positions, successfully obliterating one of the 4 casemates and crippling 2 others. Through silencing the enemy fire and providing vital support to the beleaguered troops on the beach, Arkansas, her men, and her thunderous guns had just demonstrated that while old, she was still more than mighty. At one point later in the morning, a powerful shell from German coastal batteries struck the battleship, causing significant damage and wounding several crew members. Resolute, the crew quickly controlled the damage. Quickly fixed, the battleship continued its relentless bombardment throughout the day, providing crucial fire support to the Allied soldiers as they brutally fought their way inland over the ensuing day. Overall, USS Arkansas significantly contributed to the success of the landings at Omaha Beach, one of the most fiercely contested points during the invasion. On June 6, 1944, her first combat day in all of World War II, and one of the conflict's most pivotal days, Arkansas made one of the fiercest combat debuts in U.S. Navy history. She fired an outstanding 163 armor-piercing and 656 high-capacity 12-inch rounds, along with 94 5-inch and 104 3-inch shells. After the tumultuous landings at Omaha Beach, Arkansas continued her support, aiding Allied soldiers as they advanced inland through France. On June 25th, she joined the assault in Cherbourg, a vital port city designated a fortress by Hitler. Positioned alongside other warships, Arkansas unleashed her firepower, pounding German fortifications and systematically dismantling enemy strongholds. Her relentless barrages enabled ground forces to advance and capture Cherbourg. In August 1944, as the focus shifted to the Mediterranean, Arkansas supported Operation Dragoon, the Allied invasion of southern France. Her guns targeted German coastal defenses, facilitating the Allied landings on the French Riviera. The war then called Arkansas to the Pacific. After 3 weeks of preparations, she departed on January 20th, 1945, for the island-hopping campaigns crucial to reaching Japan. In February 1945, she participated in the Battle of Iwo Jima, providing crucial shore bombardments that helped U.S. Marines secure the island. Her guns neutralized Japanese fortifications and cleared paths for advancing troops. Following Iwo Jima, in April 1945, Arkansas targeted Okinawa, the last major obstacle before the Japanese home islands. For 46 grueling days, she bombarded enemy positions, contributing to one of the bloodiest battles of the Pacific War and fending off relentless kamikaze attacks. As the summer approached, Arkansas moved to Leyte Gulf in June, remaining there until World War II ended in August. For the remainder of the year, as part of Operation Magic Carpet, she shuttled soldiers between Pearl Harbor and the mainland. After receiving 2 battle stars, Arkansas's final duty was still to come, involving a crucial nuclear task. After her wartime service, USS Arkansas embarked on a final, fateful mission as part of Operation Crossroads, the first ever atomic bomb test, held at Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands. Once there, she was moored next to USS Nevada. After many preparations, on July 1, 1946, the first test, Event Able, a 19.1 kiloton airburst, was launched. Positioned only 620 yards from ground zero, Arkansas endured the fury of the atomic blast. Her superstructure was extensively wrecked, with smoke billowing from the armored turrets and hull that once proved so worthy on D-Day. The true finality came with Event Baker on July 25, 1946. This 20.3 kiloton underwater explosion was even more devastating, and despite being 500 feet away from the 0 point, USS Arkansas was overwhelmed by the sheer force of the weapons, and a massive wave engulfed the battleship, making her capsize and rapidly sink to the lagoon's bottom within 19 seconds. According to the official day's report from 1947, quote, "In sinking, she carried with her the dubious honor of being the first battleship to be sunk by an atomic bomb, and the first battleship to be sunk by a bomb that never touched her." To this day, USS Arkansas, once the United States Navy's oldest battleship, rests inverted at nearly 180 feet below the surface.